Doing it right now. Thanks for the reminder. I always need it.
Yeah.
Kara, so good to see your face.
Good to
I missed
see
your
you.
face.
I'm so much. We miss you terribly.
Aw.
I like your cute new glasses, though.
Oh, thank you. I did just get these.
Ooh, these are actually old because I broke my regular ones.
Aw, those are fun red ones, though. My sister was just looking for red glasses.
It's fun.
Yeah. Great. I know people are still coming in, but while you're waiting, if you don't already, get your planner out. And um, I will be sending the recording to everybody, so no worries. And if you don't have your planner or you're waiting on it or you don't have one yet, I put the link to the goal setting guide in the chat because you'll probably want that, at least have that in front of you. But if you don't have access to a printer and all you have is paper and pen, that'll work too. Let me get my little presentation up. Okay. Well, let's get us started here because I want to give you guys plenty of time to actually start writing in this planner. I'm curious who's already opened it up and started writing in it, or if you have. And I know some of you are like nervous to write in it for the first time. Um, And if a pencil helps you feel better, that's fine. A pencil sometimes gives you pencil or post-it notes, sometimes gives you more feeling like you can change your mind still. Um,
No
so
water.
my goal today is to get you started in your planner for 2025. I'd love to go through the goal setting guide in the beginning and actually give you time and build in time today to start filling that out. If you haven't gone through it at all yet, you might need more time outside of this call to really finish thinking and dreaming. And some of you I've seen on some of my other calls, and so you might be wrapping it up today. So, um, and I'm here to answer all your goal questions. And I do want to give you a heads up. I would love for some of you to actually share your goals. Like after we go through this goal setting guide, I'm going to ask one or two of you to be bold enough to share what you wrote down because I would love to help you break it down and because everybody else benefits when I can help you break it down. When you listen to other people's goals being broken down, I can't tell you how helpful it is and how many aha moments come when you hear someone else's goal being broken down. So, as you're working through it, be thinking like, are you going to be brave enough to share? Um, okay, good. I'm glad you're not scared. I've got one. That's good. Um, Let me share my screen with you. I'm like, oh, it's so terrible at juggling all the things. We're going to share that and that.
I spill it, you did.
And I'm going to try to mute everybody too. Or if I hear you make a noise, I'll just mute you. All right. As we're going through this, if you have questions, make sure you put them in the chat because as I'm walking you through some of this, I can't see everybody at once and I might not be able to catch your question. So if you put it in the chat, I'll be able to like review it before we get off today because I want to make sure you really understand how to use your planner and I want you to feel really clear on your next couple steps, especially as we're heading into January in a couple days that you know exactly how you want to spend your time and that that is in line with what's most important to you. Um, so if I haven't met you before, I do see a lot of new faces. I'm Sarah, and I'm the one that created the planner, the Soul Planner. The first one came out for the year of 2018. It was undated, but it was created for that year. And so this is the actual eighth planner that has been created. And in addition to the planner, I also homeschool my 5 kids, and I also have a course on time management and goal setting that I also spend time doing as well. So if you find a lot of value in today's workshop and you feel like you need more help goal setting, I would consider that program. You might enjoy that. Today, I would like to give you a guided planner tour as if I was taking you around my house, but I'm going to take you around my planner. I'm going to show you room to room how each section in the planner is designed and how you can get the most out of it. And then I'm going to build in some time for you to review 2024 and start 2025 goal planning. And then if we have time, I really, really want to get to quarter 1 and make sure that quarter 1 is like rock solid setup. However, if you're just now opening your planner for the first time and you're not 100% sure on your goal yet, setting up quarter 1, we won't be ready for that. So we all might be in a little different spot for that one. So let's start with the tour. Let's jump in. The 2025 Soul Planner. When you open it up, if you're scared to write in it, the best place to start is that little box that says this planner belongs to. Just write your name in there. You know how to write your name, just write it. It doesn't have to be pretty. And then it's officially yours. And keep in mind that this is a tool for you. Like you're not here to make this planner look perfect. This planner is to support you in your life. It is a tool to serve you. The very beginning section is the goal setting guide, which we'll be going through today. And it's in the beginning and it's in its own separate tab because if you want to use this planner, if you want to use it to the most, you'll want to be coming back to this section throughout the whole year. Plenty of people use this planner without the goal section, but that's what makes this planner different and what attracts a lot of people to it is all the goal setting in it and how it's built throughout the whole planner. And so it's all there in the beginning for you. It starts with your guiding values, and then it has you go through this whole guide that you really only go through once a year, like all the digging deep questions, which we'll do today, and then it will help you break it down by quarter. So that's in the beginning of your planner. Then you obviously start all the months. There's 12 months. Every single month, there's these 2 pages that you see in the beginning of every month. You will see your month at a glance page right there where you can see the whole month at once. And then when you flip that, you will see what I call the monthly dashboard, where it has monthly reflection questions on top, a little habit tracker, and then a checklist. And the monthly reflection questions will first ask you how last month went, and then it will transition and start asking you about the coming month, like what areas you want to grow in, which just helps you get set up for thinking about the next month. The habit tracker has 30 squares. So if you are tracking something, some people track things weekly, but if you have one habit that you know you want to do every single day this month and you want to see it all in one place, that's what that is. And then the goal checklist is, I put this here. This is actually new this year because I really, really want to help you with your goals. And every year I feel like I'm learning more and more how I can help you a little bit better. And this goal checklist is just almost like a filter to run your goals through. So once you do your goal setting, you can ask yourself, like, how did I do last month? This is how you think about goals. How did I do? Like, rate yourself, give yourself a grade. If you want to know how do you grade yourself on your goals, you can scan that QR. I actually need to post that video, so don't scan it today. Scan it tomorrow. But I made this video for you on how I grade my goals. Like, how do you give yourself a grade? What do you think about? What kind of questions do you ask yourself? If you want to tighten up your goal setting, use this checklist. And then it will ask you about this coming month. Like, how did you break it down? Have you prioritized your to-do list? Like, these are all the little things that if you want to grow in your goal setting, use this checklist and it will be, since I can't physically sit next to you and go through your planner, which I wish I could, just this is me sitting next to you and going through it with you. Um, and then on the right side of this page spread is my favorite page in the planner. If you are using if you are using the goal setting in this planner, I do think this is the most important page. This is where you break your goal for the month down by week. And this is where it goes from like an abstract, like, oh, I need to make sure this happens this month, to like, this is what I'm doing this week. And this is how I'm going to spend my time this week. And if I said this is important to me, like, what does that look like on Tuesday? Like that, it becomes real on this page right here. So you will see these to the monthly page spread, the dashboard, and the goal breakdown every single month in the beginning of your planner. And then you'll get to your weekly pages. And your two weekly page spreads look like this. On the left is a page of just blank notes. It has the quote on top, a space for notes. So if you have anything you want to write down, if you're on a call and you need to take notes, or you're tracking something, or you need to brainstorm a birthday list for your kid, whatever you want to use it for, this is just a blank page of notes for you. And then
Mhm.
on the bottom, is some reflection questions. Again, optional. There's lots of seasons where I don't use these, and then there's seasons where I need these. And depends how much accountability you want for what you said you're going to do. And these are just simple questions like what brought me the most joy? What's something I want to change this coming week? Based on my progress so far, how likely is it that I'm actually going to reach this goal? It's just a little spot for you to be honest with yourself. And then on the right is the brain dump page. And I would say if you've never used the Soul Planner before, haven't used a paper planner, or planning is really overwhelming to you, this is your place to start. And just use this page for a couple weeks until you're really familiar with this page. This page alone, I believe, can help you really live out a prioritized life. Just this page alone. So if after I go through all of this, you're like, whoa, I cannot do all of this, just start with this page. Again, I'm going to say it again. This is a tool for you. Like this whole planner is a tool for you. You are not a slave to this planner, and you don't have to use every single page the way I designed it. And you don't have to use every single page in this planner to get value out of it. If just this page alone gives you the value you need, then awesome. That's great. Like don't feel like the pressure you have to use more than that. So I want to free you up from the like, oh, I should do better or I should do more when it comes to planner guilt. So that's the brain dump page and how I use that. And we'll get into that more like once we do all the goal setting, because you'll see how it helps you live out your goals. But this is basically a weekly like brain dump, like everything out of your brain, a little long to-do list, and then helps you prioritize that list. And there's a place where I typically use for meal planning on the right. I've seen people use it for like kids' activities or like church activities, or planning out if you run like a social media page and you need to plan out your posts, like which reels you're going to do on which date. Like I've seen people use it for that. This is just for you to see all the days at one time on the same spot of your brain dump list, and use it however you'd like. And then on the next page, you'll see this is the just your weekly page spread. This is with the dates and the times and your schedule all happens here. But you don't, I mean, a planner, most planners have this page,
Okay.
but it helps to have the brain dump page before that, so that the things on your to-do list and the things that you're scheduling into your week are actually things that are important to you, and you're putting them in the correct order. But this is a page that you're probably used to seeing where it goes either Monday through Sunday, or Sunday through Saturday, whichever version you have. In this picture, it's Monday through Sunday. So those are the weekly pages. And and then in the very, very back is like some extra pages, extra sections. And that QR code that I showed you in the beginning, if you scan that, it'll take you to a page where there's even more little extras and templates and things like that. And you're free to use all of those. Um, so are we good to start to jump into goals now? That I guess let me stop for a second. And I just want to make sure you understand the planner and just the overall flow of the planner. Does anyone have any questions about the planner before we jump into goals? You can either raise your hand or just type it in the chat.
I had a question. So for last year, you had on the brain dump page, you
Hmm.
had the goal action item for that
Hmm.
week. Is there, I'm just curious why you took that away.
Yeah,
This one.
yeah, that's a good question. I took it out, one, because people wanted more brain dump spots, but also because I feel like in real life, your goal and your real to-do list, like the rest of the stuff is all jumbled together. And then like because I'll have you prioritize it and I want you to estimate how much time it's going to take. And if it's separate, I feel like it's pulled out and like not incorporated into all of that. But Darlene, I do believe that most of the time, whatever was in that box should be your number one, two, or three priority.
Okay.
And I want that to end up on the bottom of the page. You know, like it was separate before. And so I just was trying to streamline everything so you see how everything works together.
Okay. I was like, where did that box go? Because I used it.
You still
But
have
it's
to
fine.
your goal.
I like your reasoning, so now I know what to do.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good question. Great question. All right. Let's start with I'm gonna have you flip to page 9 in your soul planner. Now, for the sake of time, I'm not going to have you fill out the guiding values, but you do need to do that part. You need to go back and fill out the guiding values. And when we get to the end of our goal setting guide, it'll actually prompt you to go back and make sure you've done that. And then to look at your goal that you set and make sure it's in line with what's most important to you. And I do want to say that this planner is like January to December to 2025, which is a season in and of itself. But I also want you to keep in mind like seasons change, seasons of family, seasons of life. And so keep in mind you might be in a new season, you might not. But what was most important to you last year, or what was really valuable to you last year, it might have changed a little bit. Now, like your core values, like those probably don't change, but some of these, like, there might be something that you've learned about yourself this year that might show up in your guiding values. Maybe, you realize how much like you value simplicity and like this is a season for you to simplify. You know, just keep in mind your season when you're filling this out. This doesn't need to be a lifelong guiding value. It's just in the season right now and what you're called to do and what you're called to take care of and who you're taking care of, what is most important for you and those people. And I want you to know that and identify that because that's important when you're deciding how to um, spend your time. So you're going to have to go back and do that. But right now, I'm going to have you flip to page 9 and let me share this again. Okay, so page 9 starts with reflecting on 2024, on this past year. And I'm going to give you time to fill this out. And I want you to think about things that were life-giving, life-taking, what was draining, what mattered to you the most. Sometimes that question always surprises me, like, oh, I didn't realize this mattered as much as it does. Um, where did you spend energy and saw like no traction? Or where did you spend energy and see a lot of traction? Surprising. Is there a place where you feel tension or conflict? And just what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned this year? I think it's really important to really think about these things and bring them with you into 2025. I think we would be missing a lot if we didn't take time to reflect and see what has happened in our life this past year and to pause and reflect. And all the lessons that you learned last year, we're going to need those lessons. We went through it for a reason. So let's not waste all the lessons, even the really hard lessons. I don't want those to be wasted. I want us to take them into 2025. So, as exciting it is as it is, and sometimes in a hard year, you just want to forget about it and move on. I want us to be people that pause and reflect and are willing to look at the lessons we learned so that we can bring them into the next year. And I also put in on page 11 the 7 main areas of your life to review. This will pop up again when you're thinking about next year, but I thought this would be a good place to like really reflect on all the different areas and give you a place to write some notes down. Like, wow, I'm really struggling in this area, or we had a lot of growth in this area this year, and I want to continue that, or whatever you want to write, however you want to jot notes on there. There is a like a scale if you want to write like we're rocking it or we're struggling. However, if you're a visual person and that helps you, feel free to use it that way. So I'm going to give you some time. I'm going to give you probably like 8 to 10 minutes and fill out page 9, 10, and 11 as best as you can. Um, I'm gonna try to get some music to play for you. But around right now it's 3:22 my time, so around 3:30, 3:32, I will turn my screen back on and stop the music and answer any questions you might have. But before do that, do you guys have any questions right now? You feel good about doing this section?
I kind of, Sarah, hi, how are you?
Yeah, hi, Wanda.
Yeah, Darlene's, I just got off my bike, my training thing, but so my brain was a little foggy. Can you just summarize real quick why that goal check that she wanted and how you saw it? Can you just say it real quick one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, the box that was on the top of the brain dump page, I felt like it would be beneficial for whatever the to-do item you would have written there to have it with the rest of your to-do items so that it's being ranked in priority against everything else in your life. And also so you're including it because I added that column of estimated time. I want you to know, like, and to think about how long is that one task going to take, just like you have to think about that for all the other tasks in your life. Because sometimes people would keep their goal item on top in that special box, and then they'd rank everything else and they'd have like 3 priorities written down on the bottom. And so they were still in conflict with each other. Sometimes you'd have your goal box and then your top 3 items. Okay, which one's actually most important? When
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it could all just be put together, like your goal
I
item.
get it.
Does
No,
that
no,
make
yeah,
sense?
no, totally. No, yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
Darlene. I like your logic. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get to reflecting on 2024. Any other questions, just pop them in the chat. Great. How'd it go? I'd love to hear. Is anyone willing to share? Like, what was something that you learned by going through that reflection? Don't be shy. Any lessons?
At my house, we had a really big year with my oldest child graduating, and he's gonna move out this week. And so there's just a lot of lessons learned with just children growing up, like they actually do grow up and leave. Being it's my first one, it is kind of surprising. Um, and so learning how to let go as a parent
Mm,
has been a big
yeah,
lesson in learning.
yeah, huge. Thank you for sharing.
I think that the biggest thing that I learned last year is that just how to set goals and how to let the goal be like a seed that I plant and I water. And it's
Mm.
going to turn into something, but it might not look exactly like I thought
Yeah, I love that.
because I met my goal, but it was not how I thought I was going to. So I
Yeah,
think that's the biggest lesson I learned last year.
that's awesome. Yes, that is such a good way to look at it. It's like you plant a seed, but it's a mystery seed. You're not quite sure exactly how it's going to pop up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I noticed two things when I was doing this. One, I tend to overthink things, but just the fact that you had a timer on, I was able to get the ideas out of my head quicker. And
Okay.
then on page 11, the life review. So I just made a line across going from the 0% to the 100.
Mhm.
And health was in the low area.
Mm.
Work projects, because of health, were in the low area. But spiritual, it was high. So it's true, in the valleys is when we grow. So
Yeah. Oh, what a
it's,
good observation, Melody.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. Yeah, and sometimes like we could be down on ourselves, like, wow, I should be better at this. But then seeing like, but look at what is happening over here puts it in perspective.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Love hearing that. Anybody else want to share? Okay, great. Well, our next page is page 12, and it says step 2 on the top, which is brainstorming and dreaming. And I'm going to give you some more time to fill this out. But this is the time where you start thinking ahead. You're starting to think about 2025 as your next season. And what would a really meaningful year look like for you? What do you want it to look like? Just think of this is like just brainstorming and ideas. You're not committing to anything by writing it on this paper. There might be an idea that comes out of your head right now that is for like 3 years from now. Or it might halfway through this year, you might reach your goal early and you need another idea, and it might come from this page. So don't shut anything down mentally before you write it down. Let it all flow out onto the paper. Because usually it like you need to write it down. And then like the next idea you write it down, and then it's like the next idea that is actually more meaningful or like it's the thing. So let yourself go a couple layers deeper when you're doing this. It can be vague, it can be specific, just don't shoot it down. And I always include this prompt, wouldn't it be cool if, like if you're having a hard time getting started, it's a good question to ask yourself. Just like, wouldn't it be cool if, and then let yourself finish that sentence. And then, we usually have this mental dialogue going on. So if you say, like, wouldn't it be cool if I paid off my house this year or something, whatever comes into your mind, say yes and then continue it. Don't say, oh, that's silly. Or don't say like, well, that's for the future, or wouldn't that be nice? Or don't have time for that. Like, don't answer like that. Say yes. And what if I did it early? Or yes. And what if I taught my kids how to budget? Or yes. And like, just let more ideas come from it. It might not end up being your goal, but you just have to answer yourself with a yes and then keep going. And then after you are like kind of running out of ideas or you give yourself a good amount of time, this is the thing. If you haven't done this part yet, you might need more time for this. You might need to come back and give yourself more time. And that's okay. If an idea doesn't strike you today, like that is okay. Sometimes like I have a kid, I call her my crock pot because things just need to marinate for a really long time. It needs to stew. And so you might be like that too. Like that you're planting an idea or like you're asking your brain the question and next week when you're in the shower, something's going to pop out. And so just start today by asking yourself the question. Um, but if you are ready, you can at the bottom of the page it says looking at everything you just wrote, write down your three favorite ideas in order, like your first favorite, your second favorite, and your third favorite. And then after that, so this is you starting to whittle it down. And then after that, on the top of page 13, it says which areas are you most excited about or maybe most nervous about? Is there an idea that just keeps coming up year after year and now is the season? Now you're in a better place to go for it? And if you have used the Soul Planner before, you might notice that this page looks a little different. These questions are the same, but I have given you space to answer these questions for a personal goal and a work goal on the same page. In the past, people would have had to print it off twice if you wanted to go through it, because a lot of us have a like a big personal goal we're working on and a work goal, or like if you're homeschooling, usually it's a homeschool goal and then a personal goal. Um, so now you can do it all on the same page, but you don't have to. Like if you only have one goal in one of these areas, or you don't work or have like a work type goal, then you don't have to fill that side of the page out. Again, use what is good for you right now. If you just want to do one today and come back and do the other on a different day, you can do that as well. So in the boxes on the top of page 13, you're going to try to identify the one area in your personal life and the one area in your work life that you want to be your big goal. Like what's going to be your big goal? Which idea are you most excited? And you're going to write those in the boxes on the top of page 13. Um, Good, Elizabeth. I'm glad that you like that. In my own like personal planner last year, the last 2 years, I was just drawing a line down each question and answering it. I'm like, well, why don't I do this for everybody? I'll just make a category for personal and work for everybody. And then after you identify the like your main goal, there's questions to ask yourself, like, why is that important? Like, why'd you choose that? Like, what makes that meaningful? And again, here we are with the layers. Well, why is that important? And then, okay, well, why is that important? And it's usually a couple layers deeper, and it's hard. Like some people don't like going down there, but it's usually a deeper reason down there. And why I think that's important, especially with goals, it's because what Darlene said about goals. A lot of times by just writing your goals down and tracking them, you'll get to the goal, but your route sometimes completely changes. The way you get there, you're like, that is not how I thought it was going to go. But when you know the deeper reason behind this goal, it allows you to pivot and maneuver around obstacles that come up and allows it to change. Because sometimes you get to a place with your goal and it needs to change. And you're not, at least for me, like the internal struggle is like, well, am I quitting? Because I don't want to be a quitter. Or like sometimes it just like life changes and you have to change and you have to pivot around it. And like knowing your deeper reason why just is more information for you to use to be able to make some of those harder decisions mid-year. So I want you to try to get through some of those questions. If not today, like make sure you come back and do that. And this will also ask you to identify what part of your goals are within your control. That's another thing a lot of people don't consider, like especially if you have like a business goal, like I want to sell this much or I want to double my revenue. Well, what parts of that is within your control? Because you can't force people to buy something from you. You can't control that part, but you know your actions and which actions are closely related to a certain sales outcome. And I want you to be tracking your actions and not just that outcome. They're related together. So I'm going to give you some time to start working definitely work through page 12 as much as you can, and then try to identify, for the sake of the rest of today, try to identify something you can write in the box on top of page 13. What's going to be the big goal that you want to break down? Because I'd love to break it down with you today. But if not, it's okay. You can come back, and this is recorded, and you can come back and finish. Um, so I'm going to give you 10 minutes again till 3:55. And as far as you can get through it on page 13, but ideally just like that top box would be enough for us to continue. Um, any questions?
Sarah, I have
Yeah.
one question.
Yes.
Top of 13,
Yes.
top of page, does any of those ideas necessarily have to be from the three favorite ideas, or can it be something different?
It can be something different. It that the three favorite ideas is just to help you narrow down, like you might have 55 ideas. And it's like, okay, now which one am I going to choose? And if it helps you to like just start picking out because to pick out one from a whole list is hard, but to pick out three is a little easier and then to narrow it down to one. But if you just know, like, boop, pop it over, that's fine too. Great question. All right. Happy brainstorming. Okay. All right. I'd love to hear if you were able to narrow it down. It's okay if you're still brainstorming, but who is able to narrow it down to one or two things, a personal thing or a work thing? Okay, Kara. Anybody besides Kara? Jody, okay. Darlene, good, okay. Wendy. And okay, so does anybody have any questions based on like going through that? Any like challenges or questions that you're not sure what to do with at this point?
I did, if you don't mind. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
So my question really is like on the personal side, there's a couple different things I'd like to work on, like spiritual, relationships, and just kind of some things like that. Is it, I mean, I guess it's possible to split them out maybe by quarters and try to work them out that way, or do you recommend just working on one thing throughout the year?
Can you give me an example, Monica?
Like, for example, let's say I wanted to improve my relationship with my husband,
Okay.
right? So
Mhm.
to work on that, but I also want to grow spiritually. So
Right.
do I
Yes.
focus on one and not the other? I mean, how do I merge
Right.
those
Because it's
into
all
one?
important. Yeah. Yes, that's a great question. I would say if it's not like a year long, because some of those might not be a whole year to get it going at least. For quarter one, like what do you want to prioritize first? Or what makes sense? Like sometimes there's seasons that make sense for one over the other. Um, so I would, not that you're not going to be working on, keeping your eye on both areas. But if one of them is going to take a significant more work to really grow in that area, I would be just focusing on one at a time. Um, as far as like prioritizing when you're making your to-do list and like breaking it down. This is a good place. I'm glad you brought this up because also some goals are more like a finish line achievement goals, and some of them are more habit goals. Both of those are like habit goals. Like you don't just like become closer to your husband and then you're done, like it's ongoing. As same with spiritual, like you always want to be growing spiritually as well. But you might find yourself in a season where you're like, okay, I'm really prioritizing this above everything else. And so it's getting more of my attention than anything else. And then you might get that going. And once you feel like, okay, I can rely on myself to do the disciplines to grow myself spiritually, then like now let's move this relationship to the front and start focusing on that while continuing some of those spiritual habits. Does that make sense?
Guys, I think I was confusing, I guess, habits with actual goals. So, okay, that helps a ton. Thank you.
Yeah, because they're both goals. But because a habit, to start a new habit, it really does take a lot more intention. And so it is a goal. It is like more attention. You have to break it down and you have to like do a little bit of research and you have to get some things in place. But then once it's going, it's almost gets into autopilot and you can bring another thing to the forefront.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm reading Annie's goal. Yes. 5K a month for work, personal to sew and knit my own or wardrobe out of natural fibers. And Annie, I know you could do that. That's awesome. Okay, any other questions? That was a really good question. Okay.
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the things that I wrote, and they are things that I want to do, but not all of them are things that I need to break down. So I have my big goals.
Yeah.
What do I do with my little goals that I still want to do?
Yeah. Yeah. That's why there's places for like habit tracking because some of them might just be habits. Like I
Habit.
need to do this every day. I need to go on a walk or
Yeah.
drink water every day. And so like I'll use my habit trackers for that, just for like feedback for me, like am I doing it? And then some of them are just like my to-do items. Like I many years ago, I wanted to start writing a weekly email to my email list. That took a lot of time to like get that going, but now it's going and it's just on my to-do list. I don't need to break it down anymore, but I'm still doing it every day. Or when I was trying to start reading my Bible every day, it took me a long time to figure out it's my bedtime. Go to bed by 10 p.m., Sarah, and then you'll get up on time. But I don't have to write that down anymore, or it's just like on my to-do list or a habit tracker. So it's like there's some accountability there on paper, Kara, but you're right, you don't need to break it down. You're just keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, great questions, guys. All right, so let me share my screen again, because next is making it measurable. Um, Step 4 is making it measurable. We kind of went over step 3, but I'm going to ask you to go back and once you have narrowed your goal down to go back and do step 3. And I want you to have more than like 8 minutes to answer those questions because these take a little bit more wrestling. These are like it's called getting honest. And it's for you to be like, you want to be in a place where you're not distracted because you're going to be asked like, what distractions might come up? And also like you personally, like what are some of your signature obstacles or like excuses that you make? What are some emotional challenges that might come up? Um, and to think about those on the front end and to be honest, and this will really help you significantly get through some of the obstacles that come up or notice some of the patterns that you have because usually when you're setting a goal and you're trying to grow, you're stepping outside your comfort zone and all this stuff starts hitting you. And so to think through on the front end, one, you've probably overcome some of these obstacles in the past. Or just to recognize like that's me and my all or nothing thinking again. Like you're able to recognize it and not beat yourself up so much because you've already identified it and made a plan for it. Some things you cannot pre-think, but this helps. I think this helps you when you miss a goal or things aren't going as planned, instead of internalizing it as like this epic failure, it's just something to work around. So mentally, it makes a difference. This will also help you try to think through on the front end, which opportunities are you looking for and saying yes to, and which ones are you like, I know that this is the season to set this down and to be able to think through that. So these things take more than 8 to 10 minutes. So I want you to go back and do step 3. But we can move to step 4, I would love to help as many people that want help with this. This is breaking it down into specific measurable things that you're going to be doing this year, every month or week, for this goal to happen. If you have an achievement goal, like with a finish line, um, it's a little easier. If it's a habit goal, it might not take all year to get this habit going. It might be you might think of it more in stages. Like stage 1 is like setting it up, and then stage 2 is refining it. And, it might be quarter 1 is setting it up, quarter 2 is refining it, quarter 3 is like tracking it and making sure it's become a habit. But you do need to get specific, and that's what step 4 is all about. Thinking like what needs to actually happen specifically. Like if you want to double your revenue. What do you actually need to do for that? Like, what are your controllable things that you can do? Or if you want to grow closer to your spouse, what actually needs to happen specifically for that goal to happen? Or to grow spiritually, or to make all your clothes? Like, what actually needs to happen? What are the things you can check off? What metric do you want to use to measure? Because everyone can get to a goal differently. One person might want to measure like Annie's goal of sewing clothes for her wardrobe. Let's say two people had that same goal. One person might say, I want to sew for an hour every day. One person might want to say, I want to do this many pieces every month. It's just different how your brain works and what kind of time you have and what season you're in. So you want to decide what metric are you going to use to measure your progress, and to think about the time frame, when do you want to accomplish this? And when are you going to work on these activities? Um, and then continuing on the next page, step 4 continues. Do you have the resources needed to achieve this goal? So many times I have come to realize that the first step of a goal a lot of times is like a research kind of thing. Like if I want to grow in my hospitality, I might not know what to do first. Like I have to maybe go talk to some people or read something or listen to a podcast or some there might be a step that I need to take before I can even break it down because I'm not even sure where to start. And that's okay. Like research, brainstorming, idea making, like that is a very valid first step towards a goal. And that can be a whole your first month, your first quarter, whatever that takes, just keep in mind you might need that to be your step 1 or to get a resource in place. Maybe you need to take a course on something or a little class in order to move to the next stage, and you might need to save up money to get to that course, so you got to rewind a little bit, and that is all part of the goal setting. Like that's part of the goal. You get to track that and check that off too. That's all part of the wins. Um, so does that make sense? I like you probably have more questions once you start actually trying to write this down. At the end in those little pink clouds, I'm gonna have you try to just summarize it. Like, what are you committing to and like why? Like, my goal is to do this by this time so that this. And here's where you check in with your values. Are they in line with your goals? Like, are they all working together? And you know that you've broken it down small enough, like in step 6, over on the other side, what are 3 things you can do today towards your goal? And what is actually something you can do right now in the next 10 minutes to work towards your goal? If you can answer that question, you're in the right ballpark of being like breaking it down small enough. If you have no clue what you could possibly do right now, then we need to keep breaking it down smaller. And we're going to do that next. Like when we start setting up the quarter 1 and January, we're going to be getting smaller. But I want you to start working through like making it measurable and what are you going to be doing. Like that's going to help you be able to think and break it down even smaller. Does that make sense? Okay. Do you guys have questions? Okay. Claire says, I'm confused. Where are we now in the agenda? How can we skip ahead to this part without the goals? Okay. Right now in the agenda, we're still in our goal setting. We haven't got to the quarter 1 yet. Like we're setting up 2025 goals still. And if you don't have your goal setting, like your goals yet, then I would probably stay in like brainstorming and working through like narrowing it down. Um, yeah, for the next, because I'm going to give you guys some time to break this down a little bit and make this measurable. And then, Claire, if you don't have your goal, I'm going to actually break down a couple goals, and that'll be helpful for you because you'll be able to take that with you when you are setting your own goals. Um, so I think I'm going to give you guys just 5 minutes to start breaking this down because these aren't really emotional questions. It's just like nitty gritty. Let's break this down and just start. And then I'm going to help some of you break down your goals and it'll bring a little bit even more clarity for you. So, all right, 5 minutes on the clock and then I will be back. Okay. Yeah, that flew by. I think it would be helpful now if some of you are willing to share your goals and I can help you break them down a little bit. I know we haven't stepped into the quarter one yet, which we will do next. But I want you to hear like when I say make it measurable and what are you going to do specifically? Usually people aren't specific enough. So let's talk about it. Let's use some examples. Kara, are you willing to go first?
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right. So tell me what you said for just your overall goal. Wouldn't it be cool if?
My overall goal is to develop a set list for live performance.
Okay, tell me more. Like, what does that mean?
It means that my children are finally old enough that I'll have some time to myself to actually have a real personal goal that applies to me, which I'm kind of excited about.
Yeah.
It means that, I mean, to be realistic, even though it's not my first choice, I'll probably be happy in a corner playing music in a whiskey bar.
Okay. Okay. So what needs to happen for this to occur?
I need to pick out songs and learn them and probably learn how to play guitar also. I play piano now.
Okay. Yeah, you're musical. Um, okay. So, and this is by the end of this year.
Right.
You want to have a set list to play guitar that you could play guitar in the corner of a bar.
Yep.
Okay. 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 So I like just making sure I'm understanding it. I love it. I'm just picturing it and it's making me happy. Okay. So, and you said you need to learn guitar, which is probably going to be the first step.
Yeah.
And you already know how to read music. So when for okay, what were the things that you broke that down to as far as like what activities will you be doing? And
I'll need to
what metrics will you be using to measure this?
I'll need to find a guitar teacher is
Okay.
the first step, and then daily practice. So I don't really know how to break it down into um metrics for the year.
Okay.
I guess some of that's the research too, as I have to find a guitar teacher. I've taught myself some on my own. I don't think it's going to be a big thing. It's fun, so it's
Mhm.
comes a little easier when it's fun.
Yeah.
Um, but decide how many songs that would even be. I don't know. How long should a set list be? I don't
Great.
know. All these things. I don't know.
Yeah.
And building up vocal endurance for that long too.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So I think you did a great job of identifying something specific, and it's like an achievement finish line. Like you'll know if you can sit there for a couple hours and play songs or not. And because I want to jump in and help you break it down by quarter, but I think you have a great like first, you're going to do learn the guitar, which is going to require some research. Then majority of the time you're going to be practicing daily, weekly, to increase your skills. And that's a great place to be. Like you're more clear in the beginning, and then at the end of the year, you're like not exactly sure like what I'll be doing then, but that's okay because you kind of know generally where you want to end up. The last half might look a little different, and you're not sure what that will look like, and that is okay. I want everyone to know like that's okay, but the beginning needs to be pretty clear. So what you'll be doing specifically is playing and practicing music. Quarter one sounds like it'll be focused on learning the guitar. And does that sound doable, like by the end of the first quarter to have learned the basics and have
Yes.
gotten better and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then are you more motivated like I want to practice this many minutes a day or like this many songs a day?
I was thinking in songs, but either way, I mean, it might be more practical thinking I have this many minutes and then see how the goal shapes because that might be the reality is I'm going to practice and what comes out of it, well, we'll see.
Right. Right. In quarter one, you might be like, I hate the guitar. So like you have to change it, you
Could
know?
be.
There's a chance that that happens. Why did you choose this as a goal? Like what makes this important to you?
I love music and I went to school for it, but I've never been able to use it in a live setting. Um, we recently went to a whiskey bar that some of my husband's friends had opened and it was there's just this guy and he was fine. It's not like he didn't do it well. He did it well enough, but it was like, wait a minute, I can do this. And it was actually really exciting to think that maybe actually I can do this now.
Mhm.
My past goals for goodness, the last 6 years have all been weight loss goals, which is not fun or exciting. And which actually helped for last year to be like, okay, we're not getting anywhere on this. And so we actually chose to have, well, we, because it's a whole choice, to have a weight loss surgery. And
Mm,
so I'm thrilled this year to finally have a goal that's something I want to do.
yeah. Yeah. That's like such a good example of like it's a new season. Like
Yeah,
it's a new season where it's time for a different goal. And this is fun. I love this. I want to circle back to when we get to like the quarter planning, but I feel like you're set up good for like where we're at right now.
great.
Thanks for sharing.
You bet.
Who else wants to share? Who else needs help?
I'll
Okay.
share.
Yeah, go ahead. And I can read through Leela's too, but go ahead.
So I am trying to become debt free,
Okay.
and um I know that I this is sad, but I don't even know the bills I have,
Okay.
that I just pay out the money
Hmm.
and that. So I know that I need to first find out what I'm paying
That's not the fun stuff, I know.
and then make a budget and that.
Hmm.
But my question is it okay to make this goal like a 3-year goal?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And I put down my steps as uh pay I get paid bi-weekly. So to break the bills down bi-weekly and then pay extra on the highest interest rate bills. And then once that bill's paid off, um, pay it on that payment onto the next highest interest rate. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Um,
This is
but
a good, okay, keep going.
I don't know what else, like how to be accountable and that.
Okay. Yes, I feel like this is a good example of like your goal to be debt free. One of the questions is, do you have the resources needed to achieve this goal? Well, it sounds like not quite yet. Like what you need to put in place first is like a budgeting habit, becoming aware of like the full financial picture of your situation, like that. And those are more like habits. That habit needs to be put in place first while you're taking some steps. But I would make that the first goal is it's up to you, Wendy, if you want it to be just quarter one or this entire next year, but like by the end of this year, the end of this quarter, what would it look like to be like have really healthy financial habits and laying that really good foundation down first? And like some really good habits so you know like when you're getting paid biweekly or you said biweekly or bi-monthly, um, you do certain things. As soon as you get paid, like you do this and then this and this, like you have a budget meeting or whatever those things are, like you kind of need to do a little research. Um, Getting those in place and like that alone, getting those in place is an excellent goal and an excellent place to start, but it's all leading you in the direction of becoming debt free. Like that's really why you're doing it is to become debt free. Part of the why is becoming debt free. And then there's reasons deeper on why you want to be debt free too.
Yeah.
Um, so because it's such a longer term goal, because it's so big, I would just zoom in on like those healthy financial habits first.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do some more thinking about like the timeline, like um maybe the first month is like really gathering all the information. Like, how much debt do I have? What are my bills? What goes in? What comes out? Like, and it's okay if it takes longer than a month, Wendy, to do that because that takes some work. And sometimes you have to make a phone call or like wait to hear back from something or download a report or get your tax return, or, Um, but I would focus on that first in gathering all that information.
Okay.
So maybe quarter one is like getting the plan together.
Okay.
Because like there's so many little steps to even getting a plan together, a financial plan, that like I want you to be able to celebrate and check like all those little steps off because they all take time and they're all leading you in the correct direction. And I don't want you to feel like I have to do all of that in like 1 week just so you can like feel like to pay off the highest interest loan first, like that is such a big chunk. And there's so many little things. I want you to feel that progress and that momentum on the way to that. Traditionally, yeah, step one would be like make a payment on the highest interest loan. But there's like a million things before that. And like you'll be so discouraged if you don't do that by March and you didn't make a payment, but like you could be still doing all the right things. And I want you to like not like you're not getting credit, but like I want you to see your own progress towards those things because all that feedback and positive feedback will help you to continue and keep the momentum going. Because if you don't even make the right payment until the end of this year, but you have all these healthy things in place, like that is so much more of a win than like you made two payments, but now you're frustrated and now you're done, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank
How does
you.
that sound?
That sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and on step three, where it says like opportunities to say yes and no to, um, just like being open to like books or podcasts or like you're kind of keeping your ear out for like financial healthy habit type information. Like when you're deciding what are my books I'm gonna read, like those are the things that I'd be looking for because like this is kind of your theme this year is like becoming financially healthy.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But it's all like it all goes together. Like I love that your goal is to get out of debt because that's what's like fueling this first part. It's like
Yeah.
keep one eyeball on that while we're focusing on this part.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions?
No, no,
Okay.
no, because I don't have the recording.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to read Leela's here in the chat. She answered the question, wouldn't it be cool to be a red jacket, which is a leadership position in Mary Kay where a consultant has 3 team members or more. So in order to do that, she's going to invite 20 people a week through booking calls to her weekly Mary Kay guest events. And you'll make the calls in the evening. So specifically, I like how specific you got. 1 out of 10 of people say yes, and then half of them will actually show up. So at the guest event, people try the product, see the community, hear the business opportunity. So that could result in 3 to 4 people every month hearing the Mary Kay opportunity, and normally 1 out of 3 people will say yes. So that could result in 1 team member a month. You have 1 team member right now, so that means you would be a red jacket. So if you added another one in January and February, by March, you would maintain your red jacket. That was so specific. I'm so impressed. So if you invite 20 people a week, that is going to bring in the amount of people that you need to be in front of to add 1 team member. Like it sounds like you're very clear that you reaching out to 20 people a week will produce 1 team member a month, um, which is great. So my question is, like, how is that compared to what you are currently doing? And like, how many people do you currently invite to your weekly meetings? Are you able to unmute yourself, Leela? It's okay if you can't.
Yes. So currently I'm rather inconsistent in doing my booking calls. And I think that inconsistency is what is hurting me.
Okay. And what do you feel like gets in the way of you being consistent?
I'll get home from work and I will sometimes I'm just um tired out from being around people and I don't want to talk to people anymore.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's the case.
Mhm.
Or I just want to hang out with my husband.
Mhm.
Um, and so that kind of that lack of discipline, um,
Yeah.
of I just don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Uh, and so that's really the big stickler there, just not being responsible and disciplined
Okay.
and doing the work that I need to do.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for being honest. The thoughts that came to my mind are um, rewinding a little bit and getting to the place where you're consistent. So instead of the first goal being contacting 20 people every week, which I think that is where you want to get to, what do you do consistently or what can you do consistently just for the first couple of weeks and do it consistently? Even if it's just 5 people a week or 10 people, um, just do it consistently. And you might, and then while you're doing that, Leila, you'll get feedback like, I don't like doing it on Mondays. Like, I'm just too tired on Mondays or Fridays. I just only want to do it on these 3 days. And so I'm going to split it up 10 and 10. Like, by doing it consistently, you're only going to have more feedback and data for yourself to be like, okay, this is what works, what doesn't work. This is when I'm at my best. This is when it's hardest, so that you can set yourself up and to be more consistent all the time. But start with like a lower number that is like almost just guaranteed. Like, oh yeah, I already do that. Like that's so easy. Just and track it for 2 or 3 weeks until you're like, I'm so good at contacting 5 people. Like that's so easy for me every day or every
Right.
week.
Yes. Yes.
Um, like, because that's the win. Like, get that win down. That's like Atomic Habits. That's what he would say in that book is make it like you're proving to yourself, like, I'm the person that calls 5 people every week. Like, I can absolutely do that. And then increase it gradually from there. Um, does that make sense? And how do you feel about that?
I think that's really good. I've been the the last 2 months I've been working on a pace setters and it's 10 calls, 10 booking calls a day as an income producing activity. And boy, trying to get through those 10 calls can be I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but after you've done like a full day's of work, it can be a lot. But just to break it down to like do 5 a day. Oh,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
doesn't sound that bad. Okay.
Yeah. See, now that sounds easy to you. That I
Right.
can tell in your voice that that sounds easy to you. And that's great. Like, do that consistently, like because what you said is holding you back is the inconsistency. So first get consistent and then grow it a little bit. Um, knowing like where you're headed. And there's going to be new opportunities that come up too, like the Star Consultant Program or the sales goal or all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I want you to know, like, this is, if this is your goal, these are the things you're saying yes to. Like the Pace Setter Challenge, where you're calling people, that is in line exactly with what you want to do. And so that's a yes, that's an easy yes. But if there's another goal that sounds, oh, that sounds so fun, that is not in line with this. And so, like, it's okay for a season to be like, that's not what I'm going for. I am only going for this. I'm going to say yes to these opportunities and I'm going to let other things go. And maybe you participate in them, but they are not your priority. They're not going to be what you give your best to. Um, and like pay attention to your strengths too, Leila, when you're going through this. Like you might be really great at follow up and it's hard to make the initial call. Um, just for more information for yourself, it'll help you just set your time up and your schedule up, knowing what your strengths are. Like when I was in Mary Kay, there was a season where I'm like, I'm just not going to promote the Star Consultant program just for a season because I don't have enough, I can't do it all. And I'm only going to coach my key consultants. And that's all I did was like every single day, if I only have 15 minutes, I'm coaching my key consultants. And that was my strength. And that is what was leading me to my goal, and that's like all I focused on for a season. So just so you know, you might have to let some other things go in this season for you to focus on that one goal. Yeah, I'm excited. You got this.
Yeah.
Because once you're consistently like after Red Jacket, what's after that? Like you're gonna have such good habits and discipline in place that your next step up, it's not gonna feel like such a big step because you'll have these disciplined habits in place already, and you're gonna be like, oh, I'm so reliable. Like I know I can do that. I have the integrity to do that. Great. I'm going to look at one more. Claire said she has a goal to start a budget and she wants to check in weekly with it. As a single woman, how can I implement the accountability piece? Great question. I'll share what I do. I have a friend I call every Friday morning at 7:30 in the morning, and it's a financial check-in. How exciting does that sound? But I actually really love it. It's quick, it's 30 minutes because she has to work at 8. And so I sometimes I'm just walking around my neighborhood and it's just a quick, like we each kind of have 15 minutes. And we just share with each other, like, okay, so how's your budget looking? Are you on track? Are you off track? Are you over budget in a certain area? Did you get hit with a bill? I mean, we have so many stories because we've been doing this for so long, years and years. She knows the ins and outs of my finances like nobody else, but it is also really freeing to be like, she knows all my stuff. Like she knows the thing, like the ups and the downs, and it helps us remind each other too. Like, remember last year at this time how you were crying on the phone because you didn't know how you were gonna pay that credit card off, but then that summer you did it. Like, and I can say back to her, like, remember that, and like it's gonna happen again. Like you can do it again. So, um, and not that we started off that way, Claire, like it takes finding the right person to feel comfortable with, but just any kind of friend, or even, I think we even started off as a text message, just like text me when you pay your bills, text me when you pay off your card. Um, and we had to text each other, like I did it or I didn't do it. And then kind of morphed into a phone call. Does that help? Yeah, and I get a walk too, which is like another one of my goals. So, yes. Great questions, guys. Let's move on to setting up quarter one. And if you don't know what your goal is for the year yet, I would just listen to this part because it might actually help you when you're thinking about like how to measure your goals. Or you can hop off and come back to this part later. But I'm going to share my screen and so we just finished this. I did also want to say, if you feel like if this is helpful and you want to go even deeper on all of this, the Frazzle to Focus program that I have, it's just self-paced. Like I recorded all the videos. I think there's 17 videos I recorded. And I go through these modules over here. Goals. I talk about like what will give you a 95% chance of reaching your goals and all the different things you can do to break down your goals. Opportunities, really like what to say yes and no to, and what does that look like, and what kind of process could help you filter through opportunities. Attention here is probably my favorite one where I talk about focus. Like how can you increase your skill of like focusing on one thing, and what are certain time management things you can do to improve your focus, like batching and time blocking and all of that. Life and work harmony is all about that. Life and work goes together and they're not in their separate buckets, especially if you're someone that works from home or has a family from home and you're doing all the things. Talk about that. And then the last thing, support, is all about accountability. And what does accountability look like? And there's so many different forms of accountability and what that could look like in this sense, in this sense, in this sense. So that's the whole Frazzle to Focus. So you might, if you like this, you might like that. Or if you're like, I just need someone to hold me accountable and ask me, did I set my goals? You might like the monthly support calls. And I love these. It's $27 a month. And we get on monthly and we grade our past month's goals. And then we set up the new month. And I make sure every single person is clear on that month. And then a couple weeks later, it's like, all right, how did it go? And then let's tweak. So you're just getting that one accountability because you know someone's going to ask you about it, but two, you actually do get help on like, for some reason, I'm not hitting this, like, why? And like, we're all there to encourage you and support you. So two things to think about after this, if you need more help, is Frazzle to Focus or those monthly support calls. All right, so let's jump into quarter one. Quarter one in your planner looks like this. Here's that page again with the 7 areas of your life. And before the quarter begins, so we've already just talked about our big goal and we're getting clear on what that big goal is, but there are other areas of our life too. And I think it's good to look and just be aware. How are the other areas of your life looking? Because your big goal that you're tracking is probably from just one of these areas. And it is good to just look at everything and to keep in mind in this season, how am I doing in these other areas? And it is good to just look back quarter to quarter and see, is my health getting better or worse? Am I growing personally or not? And sometimes things come up, a crisis might come up, and one of these might become all of a sudden very important. And so it's good to look at all of it. Um, And your big goal might be in just personal or just work. And these areas might, if you want to pull in another goal to work on, might give you some feedback for that. Um, but the right side of the page, quarter one goal planning, um, will give you a chance to write break down your personal and your work area goal right here. So on the top 2 boxes where it says personal and work, you're going to write the portion of your goal that you want to commit to for just quarter one. So like in Kara's example, she wants to start learning the guitar. So that's going to be her quarter one. It is learn the guitar. And then underneath, so let's say that's for her personal, learn the guitar. And under January, it's probably going to say something like research guitar teachers or something like that. And so that's her progress that she wants to make towards this in January. February might say start lessons, and March would probably say continue lessons. Maybe even say like start set list or something like that. March doesn't need to be as clear yet, but January does. January and February needs to be a little bit more clear. January absolutely needs to be clear. So Kara needs to know that in January, her goal is going to be to find a guitar teacher. That's her goal by the end of January. When you're thinking like, how do I break this down for January, February, and March? If you completed January, February, and March, will that box on the top be done? Like that's how you want it to work. If she got the guitar teacher and started the lessons and started practicing daily, would the thing that she wrote on top, start learning guitar, be done? And I would say yes. Start learning guitar can now be checked off and she can move on to the next phase. For Leela, who wants to start being more consistent, her quarter one goal might still be like contact 20 people weekly, but she's not going to start with that in January. January might be get consistent on like where she is now. February might be grow by 10%. And then by the end of March might be move up to like contacting 20 people weekly. It's like incremental that way. And the little checklist on the bottom is, again, just pretend I'm sitting there with you, asking you, okay, were you able to write your goals in these little boxes? They're small, partly for a reason. It's because you want them small enough to be like clear enough where like you just need to write it. If you need a whole paragraph to write it down, it's going to be hard to track. So do they fit in the box? Are they clear? Do you understand the purpose and the why? Can you see your values reflected in these goals? Maybe one of your values is like, okay, my value for example, for myself, I value nature and being outside, but my goal is I might have I'm going to use Kara's example because her picture's right here. Learning guitar. What does it have to do with nature? But she might need to just know that like she needs to go outside every once in a while because if she doesn't, she feels crazy. That's how I feel. I have to at least go look at the sky once a day, at least, for me to not start feeling a little bit insane. Like if, and I realize like after a couple days, if I'm really cooped up in the house, I do start getting a lot frustrated a lot more easily. And so, although that's not related to my goal, like I need to bring that value in and understand like a habit of mine is going on a walk daily because it really just helps. It's just a value of mine, and I'm happier when I go on a walk every day. And so, even though that's not related to my goal, I'm taking it into account to my goal. Um, And your goals need to be small enough at this point where you can commit to it, where you're like, It's not like, I hope this can happen. It's like, I'm committed to this happening. Life can happen and things might need to change, but it's small enough where you are able to commit to it. It's not like, oh gosh, I hope the stars align and this happens. Like that can happen for the annual big goal, but for quarter one, it's got to be small enough where you're like, yes, like I am willing and can commit to that. And I'm going to show you how to bring that to the next page, but I'm going to pause because I can see there's some chats and I want to make sure, does this make sense so far? Do you know what you would write in your quarter box on the top and in the months underneath? Claire, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes, I can unmute myself.
Okay. Can you ask, because I know you had a couple questions here. I want to make sure I answer them.
Yeah. I'm trying to clarify what to write in the quarter one goal review
Okay.
because I, of course, have things that I'd like to work on in each of these areas, and I have
Mm-hmm.
things that I think are going well. Um, but I haven't actually like established any sort of specific goals related to any of these things apart from the goals that I already made from the other section. So I'm not really sure what to put in this area besides just like, here's what's happening in this area.
Yeah. So think of quarter one on the left, the goal review with all the boxes. It's just kind of a quick check-in. Like, because I think you said you wanted to possibly do like starting a budget, which I'm assuming will be written in your finance box. Like you want to
Yes.
start having a budget. So that's like the one you're going to choose. You're basically just choosing one of these to pull over to focus on. It's like, okay, which area of my life needs the most focus right now? Um, we're like, because you got to look at like the one big goal, but you also have to look at all the rest of the areas of your life. But you can't set a goal in like every single area and be going after it all at once because you will be burned out by February. It will be really hard to see progress in all 7 areas of your life all at one time. Instead, focus on one area, like one personal and one work, or just one personal or just one work. Really focus on that. Like get the habits good, break them down, see progress. And it is funny how it just spills over into the other area. You'll most likely see growth in all of those other areas. And then quarter two, you'll check back and be like, okay, like how am I doing on the finances? How's the budget going? And also, how's everything else going? Like, okay, wow, I'm in a health crisis now. Like something that might come up, be like, that has to be my priority for this next quarter. So it's just like you don't want a whole year to go by to not have looked at all these other areas and be like, wow, I have no friends. Like I reached my goal, but I have no friends because like you didn't look at all the other areas of your life. Like it's just a quick check-in. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Okay, that makes a lot more sense because I was like, I don't know if I'm coming up with more goals here in this section just for the sake of like having things to put in each of these boxes, and then sort of abandoning the goals that I already made.
Great question.
But it's sort of just a chance to assess to see like if something else has come up that takes precedence over and above the goals that I initially established.
Yeah, yep. My hope for this page is just because I've done this where I get so focused on a goal and then I like really neglected another area. And now, like, because I neglected it, I now by force have to focus on another area that I didn't really want to focus on. And so it's to help prevent that, like to just stay healthy as a whole being along the way. But you can't focus on all of them at once. So it is just a quick check-in. Yeah, any other questions? Okay. Um, all right, let me go back to sharing my screen. So once you fill out this page on the right, and I'll give you a little, well, actually, we're running out of time. What you'll do once you fill out this page is you're then going to flip to January. So today, whether we do it right now or like take 5 minutes after this call before you run out, um, to be clear on January. So in our example of Kara, she's getting a guitar teacher in January. She's gonna flip over. In this example on the screen, it says flip over to page 31. I know that if you look on your page, it says page 29, and that is an error in the planner. The page number is off by 2. But just like if you really think about it, you're just flipping to January. Just go over to January, and let's say Kara has find a guitar teacher. So over in January, if you go flip to page 31, you'll see those same 2 boxes up there. And on the top, she's going to write, find a guitar teacher in January. And so she has a whole month to find a guitar teacher, which sounds simple. And that's where a lot of people stop is like, great, I have my January goal. I'll do that. Well, 3 weeks could very quickly pass by and no guitar teacher has been found because if she only has 10 minutes on one day, it might not be enough time to just sit down. You can't find a guitar teacher in 10 minutes usually. There are some other steps to take beforehand. And so this page helps you find a guitar teacher, whatever your January goal is, break it down by week. And so you want to at least have week 1 and 2 pretty clear. And then each week you'll come back to this page. So every time I do a brain dump, when I'm on my brain dump page, the very first thing I do is I come back to this page. So when I'm doing my Sunday night, like I'm going to write my to-do list for the week, I first come to this page right here and I look, all right, what do I need to do this week to find a guitar teacher? First, it might be to brainstorm teachers in the area, look them up. Second week might be to call 3 of them. Third week might be to call 3 more. Fourth might be to follow up or to do a little research. Fifth might be to like set up the first meeting, which will be in February. See how they're like so small that's like, I can do that. I can sit down in one setting and do that. One work session and do that, 1 or 2, depending on how much work time you have. Some of us, like I only have 8 hours of work, 8 hours to work every week. Some of us have 40 hours to work. And so your to-do items each week will look different. But you want to break down your month into weekly tasks. In this example, I'll go back a page. I was sharing, and I shared this in an email recently, but let's say your goal for the quarter was to start saving to buy a house. Like you want to start saving a down payment. What that might look like is January, decide on your price range first, then start a budget. And then February might be set aside this much amount of money and then adjust your budget. And March might be set aside a different amount and assess whether you need to bring in extra income or adjust your budget. So you're starting by like really small steps in the beginning, and then you're like trying to do a couple actions, and then you're adjusting. That's how it usually looks in the beginning. And then whatever is written here, if you come here, it's up here. So in your planner, on page, whatever you wrote on the top of, or on page 19, in the January personal box, should be in the January personal box on page 31. And then you break it down by week. And then whatever you have written for this first week, December 30th through January 5th, when you flip the page one more page over and you see that brain dump, whatever I wrote down in that box is going on the top of my brain dump list, along with all my other like weekly to-dos that I want to write down. And then when I'm looking at this and I'm like on my brain dump list and I'm thinking, what's most important this week? the one that I pulled from this goal page is most likely one of the more important things. And I'm going to identify that by putting a one next to it or ranking it as one of the most important things. And then when I flip my page again and it's like actually the week, Monday through Sunday, I'm going to decide, okay, on Wednesday at 11, I'm going to research guitar teachers or whatever it is for you. Like the likelihood that Kara researches guitar teachers at this point, like it's been broken down, it's really high that that gets done. But if she would have just said find a guitar teacher in January, the likelihood is probably half if you skip the breaking it down part. This is all the like nitty gritty. And so keep in mind, this is a skill that you can learn and it's a habit that starts and you can do it. But if it feels weird, it's like budgeting, like the first time you do it, it's like, it seems tedious. And then when you start to live it out, sometimes it's like really hard to live it out, but you'll get it. Like everything that you're doing, all the steps you're taking, it's all feedback for you to learn like, okay, this worked, this didn't work. So next time I can change this. And I really believe that accountability is really helps with goals because it's like you have someone else saying like, well, what if you tried this? Or why didn't this work? Or did you do it? Did you try it? So let me stop sharing this. Does that make sense? Do you understand how to pull it from the quarter to the month to the week? That's what I want to make sure you're really clear on. Because the magic is in that right there. Good. Does anyone have any questions or even like, okay, here's my goal. What would that look like for January? Does anyone need help with that? Okay, yes, I'll repeat the yeah, so we have the quarter page where you're writing down your goal for quarter one and breaking it down January, February, March. Then you flip over to page 31 and you break that down per week. On page 31, whatever I have written in that week one box, when I flip the page again to page 33 on the brain dump, I'm going to write that to-do item on my brain dump list. And now it's in my like goal action item is now showing up in my weekly to-do list. And like I said, if some of you are brand new to this planner or to planning and you just want to use the brain dump list, like you've got it. Like you're great. If this is all you use, your goal action item is on here. You have all your other to-do items on here. It's prioritized. Like you're going to be living on purpose this week. So if this all sounds overwhelming, just try doing that for the first month. Just take that page 31, plug it into your brain dump. See how it goes. Week 2, you're going to look at page 31 again. You're going to look what you have in week 2, January 6th to the 12th, which is on mine because I have Monday start. And you're going to flip to, you'll be at that point in the month, you'll be on page 37. That's your next brain dump. And whatever is in that week 2 box is going to go on that brain dump list, along with all your other life stuff. Does that make sense? You might get to week 2 and be like, I didn't do what I said I was going to do in week 1. And you get to decide, okay, am I going to try to do double this week? Or am I going to like just adjust it a little bit? That's another reason why going smaller is helpful because there might be a week where you didn't get to it. Learning what you learn from that. And it's easier to catch up than a whole month going by and like not realizing or not getting something done. You know, if in Kara's example, week 1 was researching or making a list of teachers, and week 2 was contacting 3 of them. Let's say, like, I mean, especially this week, December 30th through January 5th, like, it's not even real life happening yet. So let's say everyone goes back to school and she sits down, she's like, oh, week one already happened. Forgot to make a list of guitar teachers. Well, week two, she can make the list and call 3 people in 1 week. Like that's so much more doable than like I was supposed to contact 20 people in week one and 20 people in week two, and now I got to contact 40 people. Now I'm behind. I don't know if I can do this. And it's only January 5th. Like, see how like you really want to build up. Like give yourself some margin in your to-do, the way you do your to-dos. Any other questions? Melody, did that make sense? Going through that again? Okay. Okay, great. And again, like I invite everybody to the monthly support calls, like if it's doable for you. Um, our first call is this Thursday, and we're going to be making sure we're really clear on that page 31. Like that's what we're going to be doing on that call is breaking that down, sharing it with each other, making sure we're crystal clear on that. And you can hop in any month of the year. So, and you can just jump on my website on soulplanners.com and subscribe to that, and you'll be in. So, there's also the Frazzle to Focus, but and I do have a digital version of the planner. The call this Thursday, Wendy, is 2 p.m. on Thursday. Most of them are Monday or Thursday, 2 p.m. And then I do extra workshops for those people in the support calls, like an extra fall planning workshop or just extra help quarterly planning. Um, and those are sometimes on Saturday mornings. But guys, I hope you got started on your 2025. I know it takes time, so thank you for just spending your Sunday afternoon. I hope this was helpful, and I would love to hear your goals. So please email me your goals, or if you have any questions about breaking them down. I find so much joy in helping people with their goals. So um, cheers to 2021, 2025, and your goals, and just praying for all of you guys, and can't wait to see what happens through your lives. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you, Sarah. Bye.
Good. Bye.